almost 200 episodes. We've never said that word. And now we've said it multiple times. I love it. Thank you to the Caesar. See what you're doing on Pickles and Vodka. Remember when we didn't have to make up a new tagline every time?
Yeah.
But I don't know. It always felt kind of disingenuous to me.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it much.
Well, that's the thing. We didn't have to think about it.
I know. I had more fun with the titles then. Remember when I was pushing so hard? Like, it has to be featuring something random every time.
We've come such a long way. I hate this podcast.
No.
Hello, friends.
Hello, friends.
And welcome. I don't know where to look. Welcome to Pickles and Vodka, the mental health podcast. Diagnosed, 5-star rated.
Nice.
Thank you. I'm one of your co-hosts, Christina.
And I'm your other co-host, Lauren.
And today we're going over the pickle poll answers for our Diagnosis episode, in which we kind of debated whether diagnoses for mental health reasons were good or bad for us, which we got so many thoughts.
I'm kind of not surprised.
Including some, dare I say, controversial ones.
You know, the one I read, I had some thoughts, and they weren't all like, everything you say is perfect.
Oh, the one I'm thinking of is voicemail.
Okay, cool.
It's gonna be fun today. But first, Lauren, where are you at?
At this moment, I feel like I always do this. I'm like, full disclosure, I'm pretty high today. I feel like whenever that happens, the first thing I have to do is like make sure everybody knows.
You don't do that very often.
No.
I feel like I'm always the high one. Maybe I don't broadcast it.
Yeah, and the thing is, often I will like partake in a fraction of an edible before we record. But
well, that's cute.
Yeah, but it's like I'm not super high. So that's what I did. It was less than half a gummy. And for some reason, it hit.
Lauren, you are betraying our listeners. Their trust in you.
I know.
You now have no integrity in their eyes.
Oh, and I haven't tried this yet, but I wanted to say my coworker loves these poppy soda things.
Oh, we sell those at my job. I love them.
Yeah, she highly, highly, highly recommended the cranberry one that's a holiday-only flavor. And my local grocery store must have just like found an abandoned case because I was so disappointed I missed them, and like in the last couple of weeks I found them. So, you know, we like bonded over that. I was like, oh my God, I tried the cranberry. They're so good. They just showed up in the store. But so her other recommendation is orange cream soda. She's like, could be strange, but I promise it's good. So I'm about to find out.
I have Harris Teeter brand Simply Clear Peach Seltzer.
Ooh, she's not lying. It's actually quite good. I just took a sip.
Damn. Yeah. Nice. I am not a fan of orange cream soda personally.
I'm not a fan of cream sodas in general. That's why I was like, eh.
We were doing like a sibling game night a few weeks ago, and my sister-in-law brought a variety of poppy sodas. Mm-hmm. She said the same thing about the cream soda one. I told her I don't like cream soda, and she was like, no, this is good. Trust me. And it was really good, and I had 2 of them.
Yeah. That's what I thought she was talking about, just like the plain cream soda, which I haven't tried either. But when she said, she's like, no, the orange one is so good. Like, all right.
I have not tried a bad flavor yet. They're not a sponsor.
I've decided I don't like these kind of frou-frou sodas like poppies. I don't like when they try and do like a typical, like a cola or a Dr. Pepper. Those are bad.
I like the root beer one.
I haven't tried that. Okay. We got so off topic. Where am I at?
Yeah,
other than high.
You're shrieking into the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right
I got closer because I have a different camera and it makes me far away. Usually I sit farther away from the microphone. So where I'm at, other than good now, really not great, because on Wednesday, I mean, some listeners will probably totally understand this, but it's something I'd never personally experienced that goes along with like PTSD and things like that. I was at work, and then later at home it was worse. Experienced what I think is my legit first flashback. And that's, you know, we've had episodes where we talk about like small T versus big T. And that's, you know, part of it is I think like anything I could point to before, I would definitely consider small T. And I've had experiences related to some of that stuff that I would call more like dissociation, where it's just kind of like, I just kind of like get lost in like memories and what I can pull up, and I sort of lose myself for a minute. But this, like obvious at this point, because it's the thing I would consider my first maybe big T is Pico's death.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at work and I was thinking about it, and suddenly it's just kind of like I wasn't sitting in that room, and I could hear my boyfriend screaming in my ears, "Oh my God, what did you do?" Which, he saw it first, and that's what he was yelling at his own dog. And it was just like I was hearing it like it was in the room with me, and turned around and saw what I saw then, and just
that's traumatic as fuck.
I heard of these things, and for everyone that experiences them as well, it fucking sucks. And afterwards, it suddenly felt like I knew where I was, but it was like lights were too bright and sounds were too loud, and I was just exhausted and wanted to sleep for a week. Having not experienced it, but knowing people with a lot of trauma in their lives, it's like, of course, I've heard about it and everything, but you don't really know until like it happens. It was like, oh, I never want that again.
I've had like one flashback in my life, but it wasn't what you'd expect. I was like just putting away the dishes and setting out the stuff to make bread like I'd done a million times before. And all of a sudden, I felt like I was back like doing that, but it was nighttime and there was music blasting and I was wasted because the last time I had gotten blacked out and like injured myself, that's one of the last things I remember is just like the bread stuff on the counter and reaching over to get the wine. And then when I was back in the present, I realized, there should be wine there. Like it was really weird. Yeah. And that's not even, obviously that can't even compare to what you went through, but it really threw me off.
Still, it's the same feeling. Yeah. Just like it's not like I understood then the difference between like an actual like dissociation. I feel like I know where I am. I'm just kind of lost in this other moment and feel like I'm there. And so, like what you said as well, I feel like is the same thing, that it's just kind of like, it's so scary to just suddenly be like, where was I?
How did you take care of yourself after?
So yesterday was actually the last class of our aerial session, and we decided that we were going to perform.
That was yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what did you end up wearing?
I wore the black leotard, and I had forgotten that I have these leggings, because I was worried about leggings not being tight underneath a leotard. And I knew for a fact these ones I own are quite tight, and they have fake piano music printed on them.
Oh my God.
I know it's fake because, of course, every time I see piano music printed on something, I try and play it. And you can't. But it looks like music, and it was cute. So it was like white leggings with like music notes, and then I had the black leotard.
Nice. How did it go?
Pretty good. I wasn't sure how we were going to do it, but we performed in groups. So they took turns asking like people like, like one person pick music for the other group. So like I kind of planned something where it was like it could have been timed to my music, but of course the 22-year-olds in the class picked the music, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I just like danced to it anyways.
You didn't recognize it at all? I want to know what it was.
The first one, no. The second one, I will say I know that she picked some obscure Bjork.
Oh.
Which I give her props for that, but I didn't know the song.
Yeah,
I only know like the popular ones. But I was like, all right.
Interesting. Yeah. So you didn't get to play your 90s music?
No. I wasn't going to play 90s music, actually.
Oh, what were you going to play?
I was going to play... Well, you probably won't know it. But it's... You might. I forget. It's a group called Beautiful Small Machines.
Yeah, never heard of. There's always a chance.
Exactly. And it is newer than 90s. So.
All right. Wow. Look at you.
We keep getting off topic.
Yeah, we were talking about your feelings.
I mean, I think the week before then was going okay. Just like now, because that was just like Wednesday night. It still is weighing on me. But before that, I think, I was just like busy with condo stuff, and it's good to have something to look forward to.
Dare I say it can be life and death.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, because of how terrible my apartment is, I know, today I know that it's 41 days until I close. I'll probably tell you I'll probably update every week how many days, but yeah.
That's good, because I won't remember knowingly. Oh my God, that's so exciting.
But yeah, so it's kind of like last week, I guess, a roller coaster, just possibly bigger downs.
Yeah. Yeah, the flashback thing is scary.
It really was.
And you probably haven't told your therapist about it yet, have you?
I haven't started with a therapist
or either of your therapists. That's right. You haven't started your 2 therapists yet.
Yeah, that keeps getting pushed off. As I've talked about here, I do continue to see the dietitian that kind of like half doubled as a therapist. Again, that is the main reason, because I've said I don't want nothing. We can end one.
Yeah, especially now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what, I mentioned that to her because I saw her last week and was just like, I know I probably should have followed up on the therapist that didn't respond to me like I thought she would, but a little bit going on. Like, people are bugging me every day for signatures and come out here and schedule this. And
it's a lot. It's also kind of nice to be busy.
Yeah, obviously.
You can only put off the grief for so long. Not that you're not going through it, but...
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm in the middle of it, but obviously there is more to come. Sometimes it's nice to have something fun to think about instead. So that's me. Wacky or roller coaster, where are you at?
I thought that was an inhaler at first because it's the same color.
Oh,
I know it's a vape now, but it's the same color as my inhaler. And so I'm like, damn, are you okay?
Yeah, this is what happens from vaping, kids. Now I have an inhaler.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Where am I at? Well, I spent my whole therapy session talking about how numb I was and how I felt like I didn't have anything to talk about. And then we ended up talking about, religion for the rest of the time. I don't know. Like I said, I've been feeling numb. I feel like also I'm in kind of an in-between period because I'm out of the worst of the crisis, but also I'm not secure yet. And there's not a lot I can do right now except to just keep doing what I'm doing, which is live my silly little life and make silly money and just, make this silly little podcast. I will be working another extra day at the grocery store starting next week.
Okay. How much total is that? You have 3 jobs.
Yeah, I have the audiobook job that is taking a lot of my time, but the pay is really good.
That's good.
And then I have the hotline, which has been kind of slow lately, but hopefully is going to pick up soon.
Do we say hopefully is going to pick up?
Yeah, no, that's not the right thing to say. Well, people are going to use drugs regardless, hopefully.
I know,
they decide to call a line where they can be safe.
So I questioned. I was like, it's not bad that they call, but it's kind of like maybe hopefully so many people aren't in a crisis.
No, they don't call when they're in crisis.
Well, I've thought it was like when they want to use or something. Or do they?
Yeah, but, it's just like a daily routine for some people.
True.
They wake up, do a shot, call us just in case. But
that's fair.
It's just, it's a whole side of reality I think a lot of people aren't aware of. It's just a survival method. Like smoking weed or drinking alcohol or drinking coffee, Or
drinking poppy.
Or God damn it.
Sorry.
Poppy came back. I'm only annoyed because I've been seeing ads for them everywhere.
I know. That's why I kind of like
so
rolled
annoying.
my eyes when I was like, whatever these like trendy sodas are.
Stupid fucking Minecraft movie. All right. I shaved Ruby.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds really bad.
No, she looks really cute.
She has a close trim. Yes. And her hair has been matted for a long time. It just got to the point where I felt like it was making her miserable. And so my youngest sister is a professional groomer. And so she came over with all her, like, what are they called? Not razors.
Clippers?
Clippers!
Okay.
Thank you. She came over with all her razors.
No, when you said razors is what jogged my memory for that word, because otherwise I would not have come up with it.
Well then, you're welcome. Yeah, she just gave her a really gorgeous little trim. She looks so different. She's so soft.
I bet.
Oh my God. But then one of my sisters brought to my attention that both Ruby and I shaved our heads within a week of one another. And it's funny because I don't know if I said this before. I have a note on my phone of all the ways Ruby and I are the same.
No, I haven't heard this.
And it is so long. It's oh my God. Should I read? No, another time.
Before we get into our stuff, because this is something else that I wanted to bring up. You know how we talked about, well, I know because I listened to our episode today while I was working, our last one. But you know how we were talking about my art class where the art teacher said I was making little pencil drawings and made me draw in big charcoal?
Yeah.
I randomly found my portfolio today and was looking through stuff.
Do you have some near
just
you?
A second.
Oh my god, I want to see. And it's good because I haven't posted anything related to that episode to Instagram yet. Anyway.
Okay, so I don't have the first portfolio that apparently would have had a lot of these tiny little pencil drawings, but you can get an idea from this one that it's
oh yeah,
it's tiny little pencil.
It's very intricate. It reminds me of.
I didn't even finish it because it takes so long.
It kind of reminds me of Pam's art in The Office, where she draws everyday things.
Okay, I only watched most of The Office once, so I don't know all the episodes that well.
Well, basically, she's not really taking chances with it. Yeah.
And then this is the first time, because he would also set up these random, totally random shit and lots of drapery to do kind of still lifes. So this is the first one.
Whoa! Just right off the bat, that's just the visceral reaction is different.
Yeah, it was
wow, is that a foot?
He had
coming
it's
out
a
from
random
the
baby doll foot. Because we could walk around and decide what to draw, and I just apparently liked the little foot coming out of the drapery.
Whoa.
But yeah.
Also, I realized that there's a lot of people that are not going to be watching the video.
No, but now you should. Now
you should.
I took some pictures if you want to post it on Instagram.
Yes, I will totally post it to the Instagram that I do weekly.
So that's just a little visual for last week's story.
Yes, I love that. I think we need to do more of those if possible. Speaking of visuals, I guess I'm done with where I'm at. Okay. There's not much going on with me. So for our poll, we're going to start out with a comment that we got on YouTube. And I think it's a great opportunity to remind people that we do have a YouTube account. And also, we've been doing video the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And I want to know what y'all think. Because it's not, honestly, I wouldn't be doing it if it weren't more work, if it were more work. But it's really not.
Yeah.
But I'm still, I don't want to keep doing it and put my face all over the internet every day if y'all don't really care.
I don't want to influence people to say one way or another, but, I did listen to our last episode this morning, and I actually accessed it through Substack, and it had the video with it, and I was like, all right.
Oh, yeah, Substack, too.
And I realized, I was like, I think this is more accessible. I'm I don't want it to be because I don't want to be on camera, but I was like, I think it is.
Also, we also don't have to if we don't want to.
Yeah, but I mean...
We have that power.
Yeah, but I mean, it just felt more if I was a random person, I was like, I think I'd probably like it better. Boo.
So yeah, go watch our fucking videos. See our stupid little faces. See Lauren's silly little art.
Yes.
And now we're going to talk about our silly little question. So the episode we originally discussed this on was 195. And the question that we asked y'all was, do you find mental health diagnoses helpful or hurtful? And how has that showed up in your own life? So like I said, we're going to start with a comment we got on our YouTube. This is from @LoFiErica. And they say, I have a panic disorder diagnosis, and it was really hard to accept. In the beginning, before I was diagnosed, I went to the ER several times and have even called an ambulance because I thought I was dying. I was in severe denial. I thought it had to be something more tangible that I could address from an old-fashioned medical standpoint. Diagnose, treat, recover, and move on. I've covered so many bases to rule out anything else it could be. Once I finally began to accept that I was having panic episodes, and after trying several medications, all of which I hated being on, hated that this was the method of treatment, I started getting angry and stubbornly did everything I could to solve it on my own. In the past few months, I began to gain purchase over the panic attacks, but it's like a whisper in the back of my head that never goes away. The better I get, the more I feel distanced from myself when I thought it would be the opposite. As you mentioned in the video, it feels strange. It feels like adapting to living in a new body, and that in itself causes anxiety and a sort of feeling of betrayal. Don't get me wrong, I want to get better. I stubbornly fought to get here, which is very me, so I shouldn't feel so dissociated. But it still feels like turning my back on a part of myself. Conversely, I just recently started getting closer and closer to having panic episodes again and feel like some imposter is trying to take me over again. Is this what all mental disorders feel like? Whether you're deep in it or getting better, it still feels like you are not you. Super relatable.
Yeah. I mean, especially, I think I talked about it on that episode, like when I first started having panic attacks and feeling exactly the same way, that it was just like, it was nothing I really was familiar with at the time. And, getting to the point where my parents said, we're not going to take you back to school, we're going to take you to the ER, it felt like, oh, someone's finally seeing that something is clearly wrong. I don't know if it was just like people still were even more dismissive of mental health than they are now. So that's what it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So it was like that, I feel like, was the main thing, that it felt like that it was just like, oh, like even though no one said it that way, it just kind of like as soon as they say like they're panic attacks, it's not like something wrong with your heart or something wrong with your lungs, then it immediately just felt like someone saying like, it's just in your head, honey.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I don't know much about panic disorder, but I get the sense that there is some stigma around it, almost like, or maybe that just comes from all the people I know with panic disorders. They all feel like imposters. I think it's interesting that this person is kind of doing it on their own.
Yeah.
Wait, what was I going to say before that? Oh, I wanted to, what you were saying about not being able to address it from, an old-fashioned medical standpoint. Mm-hmm. There isn't anything tangible. There aren't any solutions.
Because I don't remember, and I think I said this, that, it's like, I don't remember anyone, like, specifically marginalizing it when they told me what it was. I don't remember anybody just being like, oh, yeah, there's nothing physically wrong with you. You should be able to just get over this because it's in your head. I didn't hear anything like that, but it's just like, that's what it felt like, because that's what the world at large seems to say. So as soon as I was told that's what it was just like, great.
Yeah. When's the last time you had a panic attack?
Maybe a couple of years ago. They are pretty rare now, which is good.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of what Lo-Fi Erica was saying too, is that like things are getting better and they fought to be there, but also they do feel like it's part of them is missing,
Yeah.
Like
and I responded to that a lot too, and it made me think a lot. I think, maybe because like they specifically were talking about a panic disorder and I had that whole, experience. But I was thinking that too, that it was just kind of like, in most ways, I never miss having, panic attacks at least weekly, if not multiple times daily, because that's total hell. And who wants that? But I know, since it got to the point where I have it like at most maybe once a year, then sometimes a long time can go by and it's just kind of like, does that make me not who I am anymore?
Yeah. That's such a scary question, because like, if you're not who you, like, I don't know. I'm kind of going through that right now. I think we both are. Mm-hmm. And it's like a state of discombobulation, because you feel like you're doing life the wrong way in the wrong body and nothing's familiar, even though things are better, and you don't have people like checking in on you as often, and you just feel crazy because things are good. And then you feel crazy for feeling crazy while things are good.
Yeah. As we're talking about this, I realized I think a really hard thing about it when you're in that point is when, like, I think specifically about the boyfriend and I have talked about some mental health things, and we've had some good conversations about it. And it's the same thing when I've told people, when I feel okay and it's like, okay, I am prepared to be vulnerable with you and tell you about like this history that was like total hell, and say, like, this is what my brain did to me and it like fucked me up and everything. But for some reason it feels a little, I don't know if fake is the right word, or maybe disingenuine, when I feel like I'm making like a big sacrifice. Like, I'm going to be vulnerable and I'm going to tell you about this. But the end result is, but it doesn't really happen anymore.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for a while, that was the only way I would tell people stuff once it was done. Because I could say, oh, it's in the past. It's not part of me anymore. But of course it is.
Yeah, but I feel like maybe like on the opposite end, like I've almost, I don't know, maybe I've finally gotten to that point where it's just kind of like, I don't want to just shut myself down like that because I know I do that regularly and I've done that all the time. So when it legit is like an actual thing, like now if I tell people about my history with panic attacks, then yes, that is the end result. That it's like, it really doesn't happen very much anymore and I mostly know how to handle it.
Well, and that's what people want to hear. They want to not be worried about you. They want the happy ending, you know? Because in some ways that means there's hope for them in some cases.
But it's just because it feels like I've finally gotten to the point where I'm trying, if I'm in the middle of a crisis, to not just like immediately try and make people feel better and be like, but it's really okay. So, you know, I'm trying to be honest and stuff like that. So when there is a legit time that it's like, okay, but the honest point is just making people feel better. That's where it feels like fake and weird. But I'm like, but it's true.
Yeah. I think you've been doing a really good job of that lately.
Thank you.
But yes, Erica, that is what all mental disorders feel like.
Obviously, you pulled up a lot of things in me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you for commenting in general. We love getting comments on our YouTube and our Substack, for that matter.
And everything.
On everything. Just talk to us. Okay, let's play the first voicemail. This is from Anonymous.
I personally found my mental health diagnoses really validating. I felt that it meant that there wasn't something specifically wrong with me as a person, and I was able to find community and support and solidarity, which I hadn't felt that I had access to before the diagnoses. And especially with my autism diagnosis, that made a huge difference in my life. And I felt that all of the things that I'd found difficult were sort of justified.
That's it.
Yeah.
Really good points. I mean, sometimes I feel like we shit a lot on psychologists and stuff like that, but it is a huge gift in some ways to get a diagnosis, like a game changer, if you will.
Yeah. And I mean, so far, all these comments have been hitting really personally because, again, like something that we've talked about, that hearing that made me think of, I've talked about like first getting the borderline diagnosis, where it was so validating to me before I found out how everybody thinks about it. But, and I would imagine, I mean, I can't say personally, but I would think like an autism diagnosis would be the same thing. It's like, you have to know that something does not add up. And just to hear like, yes, that's true.
Yeah. And just, it can really improve your quality of life, which is what they're saying.
So I feel like when you just kind of know something doesn't add up, but you can't speak to it. So it's just sort of like, so I just got to keep like faking through life, because if I don't have a reason, people are just going to think like you're just trying to make excuses, when you find out like I'm not just making excuses.
Yeah. I mean, I have so many thoughts in my brain right now. You have no idea. I feel like, hear me out, diagnosis is kind of like gender. It's like, it's a label. Like a diagnosis is a label. Your, gender can be is a label. And if you decide you don't agree with that label, you get ostracized.
Yeah.
In many cases. Yeah. Just something to think about that
makes a lot of sense.
Popped into my mind.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. There's another thing, but I don't remember.
Okay.
Oh, the community. This caller talked about community, and I can't believe we didn't talk about this last time, but we met in many cases because of mental health diagnoses. I mean, you wouldn't have really considered that you had an eating disorder before, or you were on the forums and stuff though, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was something like, even when I thought that I was faking it, I was on that kind of stuff because I just like knew those were the thoughts in my head.
So maybe we didn't have our community in Peach because of the diagnoses, but
by the time I was in Peach, I'd already been in treatment the first time. So I'd already accepted it by the time we met.
Well, yeah, and just like gender doesn't have to be something that's prescribed. I think like not everyone has a formal diagnosis, but you have an eating disorder. Like I feel like a lot of the people in Peach don't have diagnoses.
Right. And that's why
like, everyone's there for the same reason.
That's why I thought, yeah, your gender comment, like, it really was, like, making sense in my head, because that's the same thing, I feel like, is it's just like, and people are, like, what, outside people are trying to tell you what you are?
That will come back into play later with another voicemail. Let's read the Peach comment, speaking of.
All right. I'm reading the first one. Being diagnosed with atypical anorexia felt incredibly invalidating. It echoed my thoughts that I wasn't sick enough to be getting help. It made me scared to go to in-person eating disorder support groups or to a PHP program. I have a tattoo that says, anorexia can suck my clit. And yeah. And I went so back and forth as to whether I needed to have it say atypical anorexia. But my therapist convinced me it didn't matter. But yeah. Would be interested to hear y'all's thoughts on atypical anorexia. I wonder how predictive of complications a BMI under X.X is, and if it is actually useful medically or not.
First of all, I want to see a picture of that tattoo.
Yes, I loved that tattoo.
Oh my god. Anorexia can suck my clit.
I know.
I'm impressed, honestly. And yeah, absolutely, you do not have to add atypical to the beginning of that. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's hell whether it is typical or atypical. All of those can suck your clit.
Yes. Oh my god, it's almost 200 episodes. We've never said that word. And now we've said it multiple times. I love it. Thank you to this Caesar. See what you're doing on Pickles and Vodka. I honestly feel like atypical is implied of every eating disorder, because, like, no one's the same.
Very good point.
So when you say atypical anorexia, it's just like, okay, so it's just anorexia, because everyone's anorexia looks different anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's purely a weight thing. Like, it's just so transparently.
I remember hearing when the latest version of the DSM, I can't remember what that stands for, but it diagnoses medical illnesses.
Diagnostic something.
Yeah. But I remember hearing, like, in the latest version, it was like a big deal that it was like, we're going to take the weight criteria off anorexia. And I was like, well, good, because that's such a tiny, tiny part of it. And then when I saw it and was like, oh, but now they're calling it atypical.
You just can't win. But yeah, it's so harmful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've met a single person with that diagnosis that hasn't felt like they had to get sicker.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's kind of, I feel like that's kind of everyone, because I feel like even if you are, like under the underweight criteria, I feel like there's always somebody that's smaller and you think that they are more justified. But what I was going to say is, by that, I would say that means that feeling that way is typical.
Ooh, I see what you did there.
So no matter what size you're at, you're always going to find somebody and feel that way.
Yeah. So we're all atypical, and that makes us typical. Yeah. There's a very, very brief comment. Thank you, by the way, to the person that left that. Your tattoo is awesome.
I know, we want to see it.
There's a very brief comment that just says, I tell my therapist I'm not interested in a diagnosis. I want to focus on symptom management, which is interesting. Because, like, what would be, because you would be getting symptom management if you got a diagnosis, right?
Yes, but I can see in particular if they mean, like, non-medical symptom management. Because, like, if I had major depression, then I would be like, there's things you can tell me that can help, like, how I'm feeling without having to say, like, you have major depressive disorder.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, that seems like a good autonomous approach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understood it. Yeah.
I think it's important for people to know, like, all the different options, all the different things people are doing. So thank you. Okay, the last comment says, diagnoses have been helpful for me because I used to attribute all my symptoms to me being bad/stupid/evil/inherently flawed. I saw them as personal failings and thought I wasn't good enough or wasn't trying hard enough. Getting diagnoses gave me explanations for why I am the way I am and helped me start viewing myself and my behaviors more clinically/neutrally, which for me then made it easier to start managing these symptoms since I wasn't as caught up in obsessing over my perceived innate evilness. I understand how diagnoses can be unhelpful or harmful, and I don't hold on to mine super strictly. I do suspect I was misdiagnosed with several things that can maybe all be explained by CPTSD, but I don't feel the need to revisit any of these diagnoses because they have served their purposes in my journey, and I don't feel like I need them to be correct or really need them at all to continue moving forward. Again, super relatable. Like, I know this person and they had a very similar religious background as me. And so for me, the diagnosis was a relief.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, I'm not bad. I mean, I still thought I was bad.
Yeah.
But
I related to that, I know too. Like when they're like, I'm not bad, I'm not evil.
The devil's taking the form of major depression. The devil's taking the form of panic disorder.
Right. It's because I'm bad that I'm getting anxiety.
I am inherently evil. Diagnose me evil. Sorry. I'm in a silly mood tonight. I really love that they talk about the benefit of viewing yourself and your behaviors more clinically / neutrally. I think we could go into what that means for us. Because for me, it's instead of seeing it as an individual problem, you kind of look at the disorder, quote unquote, like as a whole. And you look at yourself in the context of that whole group of people with this diagnosis.
Yeah.
Rather than just looking at you, if that makes sense. I don't know where I'm going with that.
I don't know, but like side off of that, it made me think how I really hate a fairly common thing you see in like eating disorder treatment and self-help books and things like that are to say like, that's not you and name it something else.
Oh my God,
I
literally.
hate that so much.
Okay.
Like anytime somebody says ed instead of ED, I cringe.
What was that book that came out in like the early 2000s about, it was like my journey with Ed or something.
And I remember
that was the
everyone
first eating
thought it was
disorder
like
book
the
I
most
read.
amazing, best book ever, and I refused to read it because I knew that that's what how she referred to it. I was like, nope, I could not.
I read it several times. I loved that cheesy shit at one time. But my mom recommended me this book called The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober. And I like it okay so far. I'm listening to it so I could, have that in common with my mom. But she just got to the chapter where she's trying to come up with a name for her addictive self. Guess what name she ended up going with?
Christina. Sorry, I had no idea.
No, it was Lauren, actually. Just kidding. Her first choice was Gollum. And then when that didn't work, she went with Voldemort.
Well, that's what I was thinking as we were talking about this. The only time that I enjoyed it when I, read some book about like people like personifying their eating disorders is they said they knew someone who was a bulimic and named their eating disorder Kohler, Kohler, because it was their brand of toilet. And they're like, I was always looking at it.
I was like, Kohler? What is that? I don't get it. It's better than just Mia.
Right?
So overdone. Oh, man.
But I related again, too, when, going back to the whole, like, borderline thing with me, when they were saying, like, I had so many things that I think were probably wrong, but it's okay. Like, I'm okay with it. They just kind of made me who I am. I was like, yeah, that's so how I feel.
Well, and we'll get into this more later with the voicemail, but people change all the time, and that means your diagnoses change all the time. And
we talked about it a little bit on the episode, how it's like, if you see different professionals, they might not agree.
Yeah, there's so many reasons.
It is a little bit of like guesswork and just like based on what I see in you, I think.
Yeah, I think they have a really good attitude about it. Because at a certain point, and I'm guilty of like revisiting things until I can't get anything else out of it, and then I revisit it some more. Like, at a certain point, you just need to accept the past as the past and just move on.
Yeah.
Like, keep moving forward. as they said, even if it's not like correct or if they don't need them anymore, the diagnosis.
Yeah, so I really love that part at the end where they're just like, you know what? And maybe they were wrong, but it's made me who I am. That's good attitude.
Yeah, thank you. Excuse me. Thank you so much. The non-poppy soda is giving me burps. The inferior.
I haven't burped at all from my poppy.
Why did you go like blowing your breath into the camera?
I was indicating to it over here. That's what I meant to do.
Oh, I thought you were just like blowing your breath. We need to get through this episode.
Okay.
But I feel like this voicemail is going to unlock even more chaos. Okay, so I'm going to play it. This is from... Oh, fuck, I said I was going to work on it throughout the episode and I didn't. Okay, I'm just going to upload it to the drive. Fuck this. And now, time to hear from our sponsor, Perfect Vape.
And Poppy Soda. New sponsor.
Oh, God. New soda. New sponsor, not new soda. Jesus Christ. I am sending the link in the chat. All right. 3, 2, 1, play.
I think that I have a lot of thoughts about mental health diagnoses in general, even physical health diagnoses, which are different. They are diagnosed differently and they are used differently. And there are broad categories of mental health diagnoses that are just generally more useful, like being diagnosed with OCD can really help get you the right treatment, since OCD needs a very specific kind of treatment. Maybe bipolar needs a specific kind of treatment, medication. That's all very useful. But there are some much more nebulous diagnoses that are hard to pin down and are generally just not as helpful. And I think eating disorders are definitely in that category, since they are ever constantly shifting and changing. And because the care and treatment for people with those disorders are so individual to everybody, I think that actually maybe diagnosing two different people with the same disorder in that way and treating them the same, it can actually be very harmful and may just cause personal distress instead of actual help, in my experience. And something that I think that we don't talk about is, okay, I would like to say that I am a transgender person, and to get my hormone therapy, like I needed to get my testosterone, I had to be diagnosed with gender dysphoria. And if I think about that, like to a cis person who's hearing about this, that might make sense to you. But to me, in my lived experience, that doesn't make any goddamn sense. Why are you diagnosing me with what you think is a problem so that I can get the solution, which is a medicine? I mean, it is a medicine, but my gender dysphoria, my transgenderness is not like a sickness to be diagnosed by a cisgender doctor or anybody really, except for me. So maybe my take on diagnosis in general is that what purpose is it serving? Like, diagnosing me with gender dysphoria doesn't help me. It only helps somebody else try to justify it, allowing me to exist in the way that I know that I need to. And it comes off as very untrusting of the transgender people when we have to be diagnosed with something that cis people consider an illness. So that's very frustrating. And I feel like this is a pattern in other areas of diagnoses, particularly when it comes to personality disorders, psychological illnesses, the mental illnesses in general. Mental illness really isn't a good word for what many of us are experiencing. Sometimes we just have malaise, sometimes we just have, just a lot of problems in general. And I think diagnoses just kind of lump them together into one problem that we think that, we can just distill it into this particular problem that I can identify with, because everything's got to be an identity. But really, what does that do for you? A diagnosis, a word assigned to you, is not a solution. It's not even like a summary of your issues. I think we all just need to go deeper, We all need to go deep into ourselves and realize that we are very complex and that our problems change and shift all the time. It's kind of a lifelong process to figure things out. Getting to know yourself is a lifelong process. Getting to know your demons is a lifelong process. And it really involves you and your community there's no like inherently right or wrong thing to do when it comes to taking care of that. And I think if you can come into an era of self-compassion and just really be honest with yourself about what your struggles are and, you know, what helps and hurts you in particular. When it comes to topic episodes that I've heard you speak in recently, I tend to notice you kind of propose questions between each other in a way that is like, oh, is this thing good or bad? Is anger good or is it bad? Is it helpful, unhelpful? Is comfort good or is it bad? And honestly, that's it's just really not a helpful way to think about things, in my opinion, because those really just are not helpful categories to think about. And I think that people who struggle with black and white thinking tend to do that, or people who have been raised in environments where there are absolute good and bad things. religion. But yeah, it's so drilled into us that to try and make the correct decision about things when we actually just live in a world full of nuance and, you know, diversity, and having to actually think about what the material effects of things are rather than simply categorizing things into good, bad, helpful, unhelpful, my correct diagnosis, my misdiagnosis, my label for this or that, and just letting them go and having to examine just exactly what we're talking about. Like, to have to look at the full reality of things is very difficult. And I think that's why diagnoses, even mental health diagnoses, as nebulous and often inaccurate they are, people will still cling to them because we want certainty and we just want to tame this beast that we don't think that we can. But at the end of the day, the beast is you. Like, diagnosis or not, you're still yourself and you're still responsible for yourself. Your mental health is not your fault, but it is your responsibility at the end of the day. And nobody can just take that on for us. We just have to keep going and learning and growing in the way that we want to. So maybe think about, rather than just ruminating on what we are, I like to focus on who I want to be. And what I want to be is inspired by people who I love. And with my last few seconds here, I'm going to say, I love you. And I look up to you a lot. Bye.
I told you. There was so fucking much to talk about. Mm-hmm. Before we get into it, I just want to say 10 voicemails is insane.
Oh my God. I was wondering. I was just like, it keeps going.
I shortened it down a lot. So sorry, Orion, if we didn't play something that you said. I think I got your main points across.
And I did take a lot of notes already, so.
Same. Well, yeah. So with that said, yeah, I've listened to it a few times because I've had to edit it, and I feel a lot of different things. I feel called out.
Yeah.
We all know black and white thinking is a thing with people like me who grew up in environments like that. But yeah, I guess, do you want to start with that?
Sure.
And maybe go backwards?
I mean, I do feel...
Since we're talking about it?
I do feel both ways, because I felt, it was like, he mentioned that we ask, are things good or bad? And to some degree, I feel like it's kind of to promote discussion. But also,
totally.
I don't think he was wrong saying, the kind of environments that you guys grew up in, that me, myself grew up in, promotes black and white thinking. I was like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense why.
Part of it is our age and our background. And also, I really love that he said that, because I think sometimes this place can be an echo chamber.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to get feedback like that. Yeah. I want to have the kind of platform where people can feel comfortable bringing us feedback like that.
Yeah, because it just, it made us think. You're not wrong. I felt a little called out when he said something about mental illness just being malaise. I'm like, are you saying my diagnosis of general fatigue and malaise?
I think he got inspired from you saying that you had malaise on your sheet. That's so good.
That was hilarious to me. It still is.
But yeah, I don't think we paint it all in black and white. I think we do try to find nuance, but we can always try harder. And that is helpful, like, as for the wording of the polls.
Because I realized, I was like, yeah, we do that a lot. Say, like, is this a good thing or a bad thing?
We literally said our diagnoses hurtful or helpful. Like, there's no in between. So, like, I think we're limiting ourselves by presenting it in such blacks and whites. Like, so yeah, I think... Sorry, the cat.
I hear a little bit.
Hey, I sprayed him. Okay, sorry.
Well, it made sense to me too when that kind of led to him saying that it's like we do that because we want certainty in life, and life is not certain.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, because everyone does.
Also, to counter some of the stuff he said, I feel like it's great if you can, go on this journey of self-discovery and figure out yourself by yourself with your community. But sometimes I think a diagnosis can be part of that. Like, some people aren't capable of knowing what's wrong with them just by introspection.
Yeah.
Or talking to their, friends or family members who are not professionals. And obviously professionals get it wrong too, because they don't know you like your family and friends do.
Yeah, but I think that that is more to the point that he was making, that it's kind of like that it's not all like good or bad. It's not like you can answer, like, some people will answer saying, like, my diagnosis was good. And some people say getting diagnosed with something was bad. It's just kind of like, no, there's an ebb and flow. It's a gray area. It made me think of a lot when I have been in some past treatments where, like, the first time it blew my mind when they brought up and asked the question, like, what good things has your eating disorder done for you? Because you feel like once you admit, like, that's what the problem is and I'm working on it, then you just assume that means this is a bad thing that I have to get rid of.
Well, yeah,
so as soon as it's brought up, like, sometimes it helped you. That's why it's there. And it was like, oh.
Yeah, that was also pretty radical for me to discover. And now it's kind of like, oh, whatever. My eating disorder and we're buds.
Yeah.
Like, we live together. But I truly did used to demonize it.
And think that it just meant, like, this is what is wrong with me.
Yeah. Oh my God. And the whole gender dysphoria thing I wanted to talk about.
Me too.
That was such a good take. Like, you're right. Because, I'm still exploring my gender, and of course I've looked into certain things I could do to make myself feel more affirmative in my body. And you need all these diagnoses. Like, you need to be diagnosed with gender dysphoria. Yeah. And, like, what if I don't have that? Or, like, also that does imply that it is,
like, it feels like that diagnosis is for somebody else. It's for people that don't understand. Because if you were born one gender and that's not correct, then you know yourself. There's nothing wrong with knowing yourself. But someone who can't understand this concept has to be like, no, it has to be a thing. We're going to call it gender dysphoria.
Well, and they leave us no other choice because in this country you can't access it. Yeah. So it's just so fucked up. I never thought about it that way before. And I was thinking of ways that applies to other things. Like, he mentioned personality disorders, or you could even apply it to ADHD. It's literally a disorder, or autism. Yeah. Like, it's not necessarily a bad thing to have those things, but to get medicine that you need to live with those things, you need to be diagnosed with this problem.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And they can be problematic. Everyone's different, and I don't know what I'm talking about.
But no, I agree completely that it's like the things, at least, that we do have medication that helps for, like bipolar and OCD and things like that. If you don't get the diagnosis, then you don't have access to that. And so then what you're left with is people just being like, you're weird. And I don't get it. And you don't have a reason for it. You're just like, yeah, I guess I'm weird.
Yeah, that's basically what I thought. I am weird, to be fair.
And like, that is more like somebody just telling you you're wrong. It's not like there is a reason why I'm like this. And it's not really in my control because brain chemistry and whatever is what it is. Instead, it's like someone saying like, you don't know how to be a person. You're like, oh, I guess I don't. I guess I suck.
There's something wrong with me. I'm defective and I need to go pay more money to get more treatment so I can be normal. It's so nuanced. That's the thing.
And it is even like, when he was talking about like the only way to get what he needs is accepting like someone's going to throw this label of gender dysphoria on you. It made me think of the second time I was in treatment that we talked about on the first episode. I guested on a lot, like where insurance totally screwed me over.
Episode 44.
Yes. And everyone like there was trying to help me, and they knew that it was all my insurance. And that's what I remember, like talking to the psychiatrist there and them even like explaining things to me. It just kind of like, we're going to try this new medication for you, and I'm going to give you this diagnosis and things like that. I don't want you to put a lot of weight on it. It's because insurance will see it and say there's something new and we got to give her more time.
That completely makes it moot,
it's
though.
Fucking like insurance.
It doesn't mean anything then.
Yeah, that's why some of these things exist, is just...
So the problem is capitalism.
Yes!
That's the episode.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I know we've been here a while. We should wrap up soon. But yeah, that I will be chewing on that voicemail for a while. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about it?
Not right now, but I can see things coming up later.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for reaching out and being honest. And that applies to all of you guys. Next week is our 200th, Lauren.
I thought we had at least 2. Okay.
No, I mean, I kind of did 2 for a while, but no, actually, next week we'll be recording our 200th episode. We may have some fun surprises in store. So, yeah, stay tuned for that. And if you want to send us a message congratulating us and telling us how awesome we are, look down below in the show notes.
Yes.
And we'll see you next week. Bye! If you like what you heard, tell a friend about the podcast. You can send them to picklesandvodka.substack.com, where they can listen to our entire catalog and find our newest merch. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us a voice message at speakpipe.com/picklesandvodka. My personal Instagram is at xtinajumper, and Lauren's is at Lauren3_AFH. We'll see you next week.